Welcome back to the crew. And this time it's me and Penny again. A couple of solos going, doing a duo here. Last time we talked about technology fears and those monsters under that technology bed. And today we're going to poke at something even scarier. Penny, are you ready?
Okay.
AI,
Sure. Let's
AI,
go.
artificial intelligence. Big words, big words. Oh, here we go. Now, before you panic, I
Yeah.
promise that
Yeah.
this is going to be light. It's going to be, probably
hmm
funny, knowing you, and maybe even a little bit helpful, knowing me, right? Comes to these
Yep.
topics. And to our viewing audience, if you're not using AI yet, you're in the right place because we're exploring it with fresh eyes. So
Sounds good.
let's get into it. So, Penny, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show you that learning something new is even something that I get to do. So, what I'm
Oh,
going to do first is I am going to try to share my screen. So, I'm going to click buttons as we're talking here. And hopefully, oh, sure, it's not there. Wouldn't you know? Step one. Okay, it's not there.
mhm.
So, you're looking at my screen.
That's what I'm
Yes.
seeing.
And so you have a little bit of experience with ChatGPT, do you, or no?
No, no. The only experience I've had with AI is sometimes on Facebook, Meta will jump in and
Yeah,
make some recommendations
yeah.
about people or
And
places or
Google does
things,
the same.
and I
Google
mostly
does the
ignore
same
them.
thing when you go into Google and you ask it a question now. That's AI coming back at you. It's got a whole long answer before it gives you all the different websites to go to. That's AI for sure. So so
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Now, just to clarify for because I never know at what level people are when they're viewing us, even in the future. ChatGPT is an AI bot, I guess, for lack of a better word. And I treat AI as my helper, my executive assistant. So for me,
You.
ChatGPT is that system that I can rely on. What I want to do for here, just to sort of get our feet wet, I have to get into my own version, and you should be able to see what I'm typing here. What I typed was write a short, silly poem about Penny
Mhm,
and her laptop that she never uses.
mhm.
Now we're going to see what it gives us. So it says, Ode to Penny's lonely laptop. Penny bought a laptop, shiny and bright. It hummed and it blinked and it lit up the night. But Penny just sighs. It's far too much fuss. I'd rather write notes on the back of a bus. Her laptop sits low, collecting some dust. The poor thing just yearns for a click or a trust. Open me, Penny, I'll help you, it pleads. But Penny just shrugs and goes back to her beads. So here lies the laptop, forgotten and unused, a gadget defeated, abandoned, confused. So the
Okay.
point is, you can use it for some fun. What do you think?
Um, I'm kind of gobsmacked um that it did this and how quickly it did it. Um, that just and I see on under the poem it wrote, it says, "Want me to make you a couple of more variations, like one in a limerick style or one in a nursery rhyme, so you can pick the silliest." Gosh, it's a little frightening, but it also, it highlights the advances that are coming, and so I'm kind of getting used to the fact that AI and robotics are making leaps and bounds of advances. Hopefully, well, they probably already are smarter than I am, but that then it can be put to good
So,
use.
would you say, if we talk about feelings around this topic of AI, um, when you think about AI. Do you feel curious or nervous or like, nope, not for me? What's that Penny feeling?
Well, I'm curious. And I guess the thing that sort of leaps out at me is um, any how quickly this response came, and um, how does AI like did someone with a bigger brain than mine teach AI to do this? Like, how did this come about? Who taught this Chat GPT to think like this and respond like this? Where did this learning come from? It must have come from some big brain somewhere.
I think it's not from one big brain. I think to answer it simply, and I'm definitely not an expert on the how this stuff happens, but if you can think of not one big brain, but a gazillion laptops or computers or thinking things, machine learning, many and many, 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 many of them linked together, then what the change is nowadays is, I think, like you commented on the speed. So it's the speed of the chip. So if you think in terms of, okay, it's not learning from what's on my laptop. The AI, the bot, is learning from many, 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 many ones all out there. And the speed with which it can do that is because of the way technology has advanced. We just think of ChatGPT as being a fairly new thing. Like, the last year, it's kind of becoming more common in everyday use. But really, AI and the usage of it has been around a long, long time. The other thing that I've used it for is recipes and thinking about um, what to have. So, or what to make or how to make it, right? We all know, Penny, I used to like to cook, but I don't like to cook anymore. So I'm just going to show you what this does here. So what can I make? And it doesn't matter if you spell everything or dinner with. So I mean, if I just left it there, it would, give me all kinds of answers. But if I went to my fridge, and I had chicken, broccoli, I don't even know how to spell it, and rice, click the button, choose my own adventure. Here's these simple ideas you can spin up depending on your mood. Classic comfort chicken, broccoli, and rice casserole. Quick and fresh chicken, broccoli, stir fry with rice. Fun twist chicken and broccoli rice wraps. Bet you never thought of that one. And one pot wonder cheesy chicken, broccoli, rice. That sounds something similar that I used to make all the time. Anyway, if I then said, okay, give me the recipe. Oh, she's saying, would you like me to give you step-by-step instructions for one recipe, like the stir fry one, or super fast, lazy cook version where you barely have measured or fuss. I also, just to sort of belabor the point just a little bit, I also have gotten it to give me a whole week's worth of what to make and then a shopping list. So, because I hate going to the grocery store. So, this shopping list of what exactly to do. And I had it tailor the recipes I tailored it to two people because then that gave me one meal and then one leftover that I could store in the fridge the next day. It was fun.
Well, that that's a lot more efficient than what I do. I either go onto Pinterest and look for recipes, or I just go onto the internet and I'll type in okay, chicken and broccoli recipes. I get a whole list of them and have to open each one, and there's always um a whole list of, well, is this calorie free? Is this yada, yada, yada in between each recipe? it's kind of annoying, to be honest.
It's all in the prompt because I just gave it a simple prompt. Tell me what to do with chicken, broccoli, and rice. But you can say, already said, well, you could say to it, tailor the recipe for 2 people. Then you could also say, and give me the calorie count of that particular recipe. You can tell it, I don't like broccoli. Don't give me any recipes with broccoli. And it just won't. It just won't give you recipes
Mm.
like that. So it's entirely made up for that utility of just making that meal. To use the entertainment factor of going to the cookbook and paging through that, I get that. I like to do that. I like to, open those and see the pretty pictures and do all of that as well. And that is, you can do that with ChatGPT, which I had it do that for me once. Give me the recipes. And then I asked it, okay, and give me an image of that recipe finished. And it does
Mm.
it.
Okay.
It does it. And it sits it right there. So, again, not to take the place of things that we like to do, but rather to enhance those, well, not enhance, but augment those things that we don't like to do and make it faster and easier,
Yeah.
more convenient. You can, it's all in the prompt. You can just define that down. I only want to spend $5 on a Sunday supper. Give me a recipe that doesn't use broccoli, blah, 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 blah. Give me a
Hmm.
recipe that uses my slow cooker. Give me a recipe that uses my air fryer. Go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Well, and no, and I'm interrupting you again. Um, One of the downfalls that I find when I go onto the internet and I ask for chicken, broccoli, and rice recipes, um, what I find annoying is the ads. I mean, it'll give me 2 recipes and then there's an ad for foot care or something, and then there's another recipe and another ad. And I find that pretty annoying. This is a lot
Well,
cleaner.
do you see a place for that in the things that
Mm.
you think about?
Um, yeah, I guess, as I said, this is a much cleaner response than when I go to the internet and it has all the ads and gives me stuff that is not relevant to what I asked. This is much cleaner. It's much faster. Um,
Can
so
you give me an example of something that you've recently asked Google or
okay, yeah, I will. As you know, I have a 13-and-a-half-year-old little dog who in the last 10 days has developed a bit of a cough and a rapid respiratory rate. Um, and I'm taking her to a professional vet tomorrow. But I just sort of asked, what are the signs and symptoms of cardiac, congestive heart failure in older dogs?
you said, what are the signs and symptoms of, what did you say? Heart?
Yeah, heart failure, CHF, because that's my assumption about what it is.
Yes, most of us wouldn't have an assumption, like you being the nurse. So in this
Mhm.
prompt, we're kind of leading. We're leading by saying signs and symptoms of heart failure in my dog. So now it's thinking, I'm glad you
Okay.
asked, Diane. At 13, your pup is definitely a senior, and heart disease is unfortunately pretty common in older dogs. Here are the signs and symptoms of the heart failure in the dogs to watch for. So it goes through early signs and then more concerning signs, and then what to do. And what to say important. These signs don't always mean heart failure. They can overlap with lung disease, tracheal collapse, but they do mean your senior pup needs a checkup as soon as possible. Would you like me to also give you a home
Yeah.
observation checklist, like what to monitor daily, breathing rate, appetite, activity? So it gets into those nursey kinds of things. So that's how fast it came.
What I find the difference with this response is it's concise. It doesn't have multiple websites and multiple sub questions underneath each website. It's concise. It talks about signs and symptoms to watch for early and late stages. Um, and and just the lesson, get to event.
Now I'm going to bring it home a little bit more. In the last episode, you expressed an interest in writing a book. So without, I don't want you to go into too much detail because I know it's a personal thing for you, but can you give us, well, so you don't have to answer it honestly. You could give me any answer, okay, to this question. And we're not going to, my example is still going to apply. So, what is one sentence about a book that you would like to write? Just one sentence. Give me one sentence.
Option in the 1950s.
Okay. What am I losing? Okay, so just a really simple rudimentary prompt. We're not trying to lead it in any particular way other than for your topic. Here's 3 strong evocative book title ideas for the theme of adoption in the 50s, each with a slightly different angle depending on whether you want more historical, emotional, or investigative appeal. Okay, so what I'm trying to get at here is, and this is how a lot of the time I use ChatGPT, is I just give it a simple thought and I get it to come back to me with some ideas. So this is concise, right? And so this just allows us space to explore and play with that. Now, Penny, if I were to coach someone like yourself who has that idea in their head about the book, then there would be a way that we could define that prompt a little bit so that we weren't playing quite as much, but we're still looking for good ideas. So in this case, it's saying the titles could be Closed Doors, Hidden Lives, Adoption in the 50s. Paper Orphans, The Untold Stories of 1950s Adoption. The Silent Generation's Secret, Adoption in Mid-Century America. What pops out at you? What's your first reaction? What are you thinking, Penny? Just off the cuff, what are you thinking when you read these?
They all approach it from a very different perspective, and they all have a relevancy to my experience. And I think the first 2 more than the third. I don't want to look at the broader cultural climate of the 50s, but definitely the bureaucratic systems that were in place at the time and for a very, very long time. And this is pretty amazing.
I don't know if you can because I'm not. Give me.
Yes, I can.
Okay, I like number 1 and number 2. Give me 3 more title ideas that incorporate both. It's not. Well, let's just say ideas. I don't know what else to say. So I'm just asking for 3 more. Perfect. They're going to do the secrecy, hidden life angle with the human story paperwork theme. That's interesting. Behind Closed Files, Hidden Stories of 50s Adoption. Forgotten Papers, Silent Lives, Adoption in the 50s. Sealed in Silence, The Paper Trail of the 50s. Okay, so what it's doing is definitely getting down to the historical, because we had put 1950. We were so specific in that. So it's looking at the historical part of what that could be. Now, we're not going to do it this morning, Penny, but when I play with things like this, I try to define down a title that feels good in my heart, for not in my head, but in my heart, for what I want to accomplish. And I spring from there. My next step is and you know what? I will say, if any of these 3 don't hit home in that way that I think I want to go, then I tell it, well, I don't like any of that. Give me some more. And eventually, like sometimes it takes some time for me to get clear in my head what it is that I want to do, right? Chatty is just going to keep giving us stuff until something clicks for us. So I am going to, let's do this. Now, understand, if you were doing this on your computer, it would already know you a little bit because you would have chatted with it about some things there to this.
Mhm.
So, give me an outline or a memoir style book uh, using the title love lost. So what and I've done this before, not on this topic, but now I ask it for an outline. And it says, ooh, that title is rich with possibility. Memoir framed around love, loss, and secrets, growing up adopted in the 50s, could weave together your personal journey with the broader cultural context of adoption in that era. Here's a chapter by chapter outline to get you started. So it's not writing anything, it's just giving us back. And here you go. Here's part one, the world I was born into. Part two, growing up in silence. Part three, breaking the silence. And then part four, the long road to belonging. Part five, reflections. Features to weave in. It wants you to have some personal vignettes and it's going to help you with the cultural markers. I know you have some of those in your head as well. So you're going to tailor some of this, some reflections, what it's like now and what it was back then. And then the theme, it's suggesting to keep circling back to the three anchors in the title, which was love, loss, and secrets. See, that's what it's doing. And so before I scroll down to see what it suggests, I know what it's going to suggest next. But before you get to see it, let me ask you
Okay.
this. Even though this wasn't the title that you asked, and in just skimming down some of these titles, which you haven't had time to absorb, do you see a way that you might be able to um, herd those thoughts? It's kind of like herding the cats. And you've got a lot of thoughts and you've got some
Mhm.
started, right? You've got a beginning to this book, but it's not completed. But do you see a way that those cats could get herded into a little bit of a formation here? Your thoughts, not somebody else writing this, but it's you writing this.
Mhm. Mhm. Like the prompts and the chapter titles,
Yeah.
some of them are much broader than what I've been focusing on, which is a personal experience. But um, this is this enriches what I've been thinking about in many ways. Looking at the cultural and the historical stuff. Um, I guess one of the things that strikes me is when I've been thinking about this and scribbling in my little book. I've assumed that the historical context and the culture of the time would be something that any reader would already know. And that's a
Yeah,
fallacy
exactly.
because, you know, um, there's sort of the broad statements about, being a single mother in the 50s was frowned upon.
Yeah.
Um, other things like that. But to look at the historical record, to look at some of the bureaucratic assumptions of the time, um, that it's for the benefit of the child, it's for the good of the child, et cetera, et cetera. Those things I assume a reader and an audience would know, but
And
they
there's
don't. I know it,
Yeah,
but
and there's
they don't.
something else here too. It depends also on what do you want the book for? Like any book, right? So you want to write a book, and in your case, it's your memoir. So the end result of writing a memoir is what? Is it to give to your sons to have sort of a history of what happened for mom, regardless of all of the politics and all of those other things that happen? Like it's not teaching, it is, or it's not being a teacher and trying to learn about history and all those things, but it's just getting down that Penny's experience from the 50s to the 2000s or whatever. It could be that. Or is
Mhm.
it that you want to teach and counsel others who might have the same experience as you. In the first case, that piece about the memoir that is just about Penny, then that's a private thing. And who cares what anybody thinks about it, right? It's just for personal consumption. And that's can be a really good thing as well. On the other case, then you're thinking about it's an awful word to use, but the market. Who's going to be your readership on something like this? And why would they want to read it? And so then you have to define that too.
Mhm.
Who is your audience? Who are you talking to?
Right.
And then you give them what, and actually that's something that we can ask ChatGPT. We won't do it this morning, but I've done this as well. Okay, Chatty, I think that my book is going to appeal to women who are in their 50s who may have been in a similar situation to what I was. What are some of the problems that those women have experienced over time? Now, when it comes back with their fears and their obstacles, and they're going to be very similar to yours. Okay. But you haven't had to express them. You've done some research. Yes, there might be an audience for this because in chat rooms out there, women are talking about this, blah, 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 blah. You can spend days researching. And the thing of it is, you would spend those days, Penny. You would spend those days regardless. But at least with ChatGPT or any of the other AI bots, it doesn't have to be days. You can do this in a couple of hours. Such an awesome assistant at your disposal now with Chatty, and you don't even have to pay them, right? Because of that, what would be the possibility of starting with something that is just honed in on Penny and Penny's memoir and actually getting that done? And then coming back, a few days or a few weeks later and saying, okay, Chatty, we have the book, we have my memoir, and we've worked on that. Now I want to produce a second publication or second book. And I would like to open it up to blah, 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 blah. And so you use the first one as a basis for the second one. I think that could be an incredible thing. That using that assistant to feed ideas through and to go out and do a little bit of research and bring it back and have it fit into Penny. And it's learning Penny the whole time. I mean, it's a rabbit hole to go down, but it's fun. In my world, that's a fun thing. Whether it ever gets published or not, in my world, it doesn't really matter, for me, right? It's just the act of doing it. So for Penny, it's a little bit of self-coaching, just deciding, okay, what is it that I really want to accomplish? What would float my boat for this book?
Yeah.
Um,
This is God. I mean, you have shared with me in the past that I need to. It would benefit me to lose my phobia about AI and learn more about it, so that it could be my assistant and my support. This is just illustrating what I didn't know and what boy, what I'm learning today. Um, I will probably ask you how I get onto
Yeah, we can
ChatGPT.
definitely do that. And so then it's always leading you, which I like. You might not want to be led through, but here was Chatty saying, would you like me also to sketch a preface or an introduction hook? What that means is something that'll capture somebody else's attention, not necessarily that private memoir, but a little bit more public one. Something emotionally compelling that drops the reader straight into your world, like a moment of discovery or the first time you realized you were adopted. That could set the stage powerfully. Now, if I was doing this really, it would already know a little bit about me, or I would prompt it a little bit more of my story if I was writing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not going to do that for you right now. We're just going to say, yes, please sketch out a preface, introduction, hook. And again, it's just going to be a springboard, something that immediately pulls readers into love, loss, and secrets. I was 5 years old the first time I realized there was something I wasn't supposed to ask. It was a Sunday afternoon and my mother was folding laundry, the smell of starch and ironing filling the room. I asked her why I didn't look like anybody else in our family, why my eyes were darker, my nose wasn't the same as hers. She froze just for a second, then smiled and a little too quickly. This is going to be too long to read today,
Mm-hmm.
but you can see where I'm hoping that what you see, I should put it that way. That's a story that Chatty invented, okay? And that could probably be replaced with your words. And how you would do that is you would tell it instead of the story about me on the Sunday afternoon, blah, blah, blah. It, this is more my story. And so whether you don't want to type it or whether you want to invoke the little microphone and just talk it in, then you give it the story, but it goes away and it rethinks exactly what you're saying and it uses the tone and comes back with something that you probably have to do very little editing to. That's the neat thing. It'll replace the stories.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have a book that you have an introduction already written to. Kidding. I'm kidding. It's probably not in the right realm, but you can see how simple that was. And I want us, yourself, Penny, and the people that are listening in to this podcast to realize, to hold that that AI bot is more like an assistant. It's not writing anything for us. It's our thoughts that are just exposed and brought into the world so that those words can mean something to someone else easier.
Mm-hmm. I love what I'm seeing, and my fear is dissipating rapidly about using AI. Thank you for, I mean, the illustration, and just showing me what the AI, as you say, is an assistant, is a bit of a coach, um, stimulates thinking and ideas that is much more efficient than me scribbling on a piece of in my little workbook and then crossing it out
Mm-hmm.
and starting all
So
over again.
if we categorized AI as we started out asking the question friend, foe, or a little bit scary, when I hear there might be a little bit change there. So friend, foe, or a little bit scary. What is it now after having the curtains parted just a little bit?
I would have to say it's not a foe. Um, it's friendlier than I thought it was. And I'm, from what you've shown me, there's nothing to be scared about. So a big learning curve has been accomplished
I'm
today.
going to remove one more hurdle because this goes back to our previous conversation about technology, laptops and phones, and how we use them.
Mm.
So you don't have to be tied to your computer to use ChatGPT and write that book. What you need is, need, you need the app, which is your app installed on the phone and on your laptop. And then when you are just sitting and you got this thought that just comes into your head, and I've done this and you're laughing, but I've done this and I'm sitting there. Okay, out comes my phone, chatty, and I just talk it in there because I can't type on those little wee screens, but I just talk it in. And then I either invite conversation with Chatty or not, like it might be just that notepad. And then I go away and I've captured the thought. Then the next time that I'm able to sit and think more and do more on it, I have the choice. I can sit down at my laptop and poof, there's that information that I talked into my phone and ChatGPT's response. And away you go. So it's so freeing. Got no more
Agreed.
excuses.
Sometimes I will use. I have a few math games and other things on my phone that I will use as a time
Yep.
waster, time filler. Probably will be ignoring those for the next little while.
So thank you, Penny. And what about you, people out there in viewing land? Are you like Penny, where you're brand new to AI? Or have you dipped a toe in it already? I'd be really interested in learning what your bits of experience are and hearing about those in the comments, and we will reply. It'll be fun over time to, maybe gather a little cohort of people who are in the beginning stages of using the tool and exploring a little bit and doing that in a group format. Penny, I know you like the group thing, and some people do. Some people like me, I learn on my own just fine. But I think in this day and age, and at the age that we are, to learn together is sometimes a fun thing and can be a lot of laughs. So more on that later. And in the meantime, thanks. Thanks for joining us. And maybe we'll actually get Penny to use that laptop a little bit more rather than as a doorstop. Stay tuned.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, and bye for now.